What am I doing? Why were Toby's lips on mine? I could barely see them because of the cave, but I sure felt them. Neither of us wished to move, our lips still together without movement. Finally, Toby pulled back to catch his breath. The dim light from outside barely showed his feelings, but I could feel the tension in the air. I moved back, careful not to fall once again. If I did, who knows, he might just kiss me again. Would I like that? I never thought of Toby in that manner. He was my best friend, someone I relied on like no other. Toby, Don't worry about it. I'm just glad you didn't die out there. Same, I said, trying to make light of the situation. It already felt awkward. Anyways, we should try to get back to where we were before. Maybe there's a way out there. Sure, right, I spat out, but my thoughts weren't on getting out. They were still on Toby's lips, and my inability to think about anything else. I had it bad, and I didn't know why. Earlier that day. We're lost! Toby's words filled the air. I sighed and shook my head. We couldn't be! I followed the map and everything! The large, expansive cave that sat before us looked all the same. I knew coming here on a whim was not a smart move, but as a spelunker, I couldn't wait any longer. It began when Toby showed me this cave, which was accessible from one of the nearby parks. Rumor had it that people who went in rarely came out. We love a good ghost story. The caves we've been to recently were alright, but I craved more adventure and yearned to find more. So, with that said, we both agreed to go into the cave. We went to the cave early that morning as the daylight started to seep in. Getting in was the first challenge, as it was super tight squeeze. When we finally managed to go inside, a large, expansive series of tunnels greeted us. Whoa! Toby exclaimed. This is so much bigger than what they said in the books. Yeah, it is, I murmured, the uneasy feeling washing over me. We began our exploration into the myriads of tunnels that lay before us. We were greeted by rock formations and various pathways that were rough, to say the least. When we came to a fork in the road, I said I'd go ahead. We continued for what felt like ages until I got to a large opening. I had a bad feeling about it. It was an abyss, determined to swallow up both of us. However, I was stubborn and wanted to see what lay behind. I'm going to go and... My hand slipped. With nothing below me, I began to fall, and it was only at the last minute that I reached out, grabbing the cave. Hanging there, I looked around in panic. Help! Toby's muscular hand pulled me up, and soon I flew through the air. I expected to hit solid ground, but instead, I landed on his thighs, and my lips met his. It was strange. When we pulled away, I blinked, unable to make him out. He saved me from the abyss, but he opened up another one in my heart, and a slew of awkward feelings I had long forgotten. The next evening. The next day was spent trying to retrace our steps. The tunnels were an interconnected abyss, with pointed rock edges greeting us from every side. The entire time, Toby didn't say much. I tried talking to him, but he grew quiet, like he was embarrassed about something. Was it because of the kiss? Or was it something else? My thoughts raced, and I feared that we might have ruined our current friendship. I think here would be a good place to stay, he said. Yeah, sure, I replied. Toby used a couple of the fire starters that he brought to build a tiny fire. The flames crackled and echoed in the large cave. Toby glanced down at the navigation tool he had, grimacing. It isn't working. Why keep it on? I asked. If it doesn't work, isn't that just draining the battery? Yeah, but who knows? I might be able to get an SOS signal out. Maybe we'll get lucky in some part of the cave. I wish I had that optimism. We tried to go back the way we came, but it was impossible. The spaces were smaller and we didn't have a definitive way back. In truth, we were lost in this cave. But that meant little compared to the ongoing thoughts that resonated in my mind. I looked over at Toby, who seemed to have the same thoughts as me. Did he feel the same way about me as I did him? That the kiss unlocked desires I long forgot about. Toby, I began. The sound of the fire's embers, the only sound we heard. He looked at me expectantly. "What's the matter?" I wanted to talk about what happened yesterday. "What do you mean?" Toby asked. "Don't play dumb. I meant the kiss." "Oh," Toby said as he looked away. "It was an accident." I nodded. "I know. I just don't want things to be awkward between us." Toby chuckled, the low sound doing things to me. I never thought of Toby, of all people, to have this effect on me, but after that kiss, I started to believe otherwise. It was strange how much I liked it, how I wanted to feel it again, but the lingering fear that I might ruin our friendship hung over me like a dark cloud. "It won't be," he said flatly. "It was just an accident. Besides, stranger things have happened to people while they were caving, right?" "Yeah, sure," I replied, my tone brush off. It didn't change the fact that I couldn't get Toby's words, or his lips, out of my damn head. That night, I tossed and turned. I wanted to tell him right then and there that I liked the kiss and wanted more, but I stopped myself. The fear of ruining our friendship, especially in such a dire situation like this, was not something I needed. For now, I had to keep my distance, even if I didn't want to. The next day, we explored another part of the cave today. This one was like a hallway with some unique rock formations and even some cave water that we were able to purify to drink. The discoveries did little to stop the racing thoughts about what we discussed last night. I watched Toby, admiring his features, those muscles, his wispy blonde hair I wanted to run a hand through, and of course, his lips. If we kissed again, what would happen? These thoughts invaded my head even into the night when we found another small space to stay. This time, we didn't have much in terms of light, so I could only make out Toby a little bit through the tiny flashlight we had on. Sitting up, I bit my lip, the words threatening to spill. "What's on your mind?" I looked over at Toby. Following the sounds, I flushed, feeling a little nervous about this. "It's nothing. Just something that's on my mind." "You're still thinking about that kiss, aren't you?" I turned to him, slightly taken aback. How did he know? I am, I admitted, my heart racing as if it might pop out of my chest. It's foolish of me too, though. "Why?" "Because you said it was just an accident. And yet, I hoped maybe it wasn't, but clearly that's not the case." Silence filled the space, and I half expected Toby to ignore me. Then, I heard a laugh, a low chuckle that cut through the air. "You have it all wrong, Michael." Shock settled in me as I turned to him. "What do you mean, I
like you, Michael. I have for a long time. I just didn't want to admit these feelings."
"Why?"
"Because I was scared. You're my best friend, and our friendship means the world to me. I'm just worried that after kissing you, things might seem awkward. I don't want to change our friendship."
The feeling was mutual, especially considering how much Toby meant to me. "It won't. You're my partner in crime. We can still explore all the caves in the world together, and like each other."
"You think so?"
"I know so," I reassured. "I like the kiss a lot. Ever since then, I can't stop thinking about kissing you again." Toby grabbed the flashlight and illuminated our faces. There, I saw the impassioned eyes and the smile.
"I thought about it a lot too."
And just like that, Toby closed the distance, and we kissed again. This time, it grew serious, and we depended on it. Our tongues danced together as the heat of the moment exploded between us. Toby shifted so he was in my lap, and my hands draped down to his waist to hold him. When he pulled away, he smiled.
"We can worry about what this means later, but for now, let's focus on getting out of here."
I nodded, tugging him closer until his chest was against mine. "Yes, we'll worry about tomorrow's problems then." Satisfied with my answer, he gave me another kiss, one that silenced all of my doubts. A day later. Toby and my relationship changed a lot after we shared the kiss, and then some. He showed me feelings I'd never experienced before. I always thought I was straight, but after kissing Toby, I don't know anymore. When we got up, it was back to business, where we would have to go along the side of the cave wall. Toby said he found the faintest signal in this direction, which might lead us back to where we began. Our bodies shimmied along the rocks. I sucked in a breath, the nervousness apparent on my face. As I looked down, I saw nothing, which made me worried.
Don't worry, I'm here, Michael. We're getting close.
I know, I breathed, trying to keep it together. It's just that my feet slipped, and I grabbed the rocks. Toby held my hand, and together we went to the other side of the cave, the less complicated one. When we got there, we both stopped to catch our breaths. We did it! I gasped out.
Sure did. I guess holding hands makes things easier.
I turned to him and flushed. That was an accident, and...
Relax, Michael. You're safe, and that's what matters.
His words were sweet, and I flushed when I heard them. How did I get so lucky to have a best friend who was okay with this sort of thing? I appreciated every word. When we got back to solid ground, we walked in a pleasant silence. Toby sighed.
I can't wait to get out of here.
Same. Do you know if we're close at all? He shook his head.
I don't, but this is a pathway that should lead to another tunnel. Once we're there, we can then figure out a way to get to our cars.
I see, I said, almost regretting the day we might have to leave. Will our friendship go back to what it once was, or become something more? Who was I kidding? Getting out of here was a precedence, not my own lust for my best friend. Was it really lust, though, or something more? Only time will tell. The next day. Sure enough, Toby was right. Some tunnels would possibly lead to our escape. I followed Toby through the different tunnels, which got even harder to get through. At one point, he walked forward and the ground shook. Whoa! Here! I reached for his waist and pulled him back. The rocks in front of us collapsed, blocking the path. Toby turned, smiling slightly.
Thanks. You can let go of me now.
The realization settled in. I was still holding his waist. Sorry! I replied, pulling my hands back. Toby chuckled, closing the gap.
It's fine. I'm just teasing you. I do like it when you leave your hands on me.
I sucked in a breath. This was real, right? I pinched my thigh through my caving pants, and sure enough, this was real.
Don't worry. Let's just find another way out of here.
All right. We walked back to the bigger space, and Toby shuffled past me to the next tunnel. With our options decreasing, I knew we had to find something. Our food and water supplies were slowly deteriorating, and the lack of light made me wonder if I was dreaming things. Either way, I wanted out, if only to come to grips with the truth of how I felt. 2 days later. More tunnels. More dead ends. More rocks. I was slowly going insane, and the longer I was around Toby, the harder it became to let him go. I wanted to kiss him, hug him, and so many other things. The guy wasn't just a best friend. He wasn't just a ride or die either. He was the one, and I wanted nothing more than to show him how I really felt.
I'm going to check this area, alright?
Okay, I breathed, trying to get my thoughts on something else besides my best friend's butt, which had become more prominent. He wandered forward, and I followed him. As he climbed inside, he got partway through and then stopped. Crap, I'm stuck. Here, let me try to help you. He wiggled a bit, but wasn't moving. I got behind him, with his butt against my waist, and I tugged a little bit. With a bit of pushing and pulling, I finally got him out. He collapsed to the ground on all fours and turned to me. Catching his breath, he spoke.
Seems like that's a dead end, he said.
No, really, I retorted. There was no way we were getting out that way. If he couldn't make it, then there was no way I would. Toby gathered himself and started to move up, only for him to graze my legs again. I flushed and turned away, but Toby's low laugh echoed.
Sorry, I didn't know I was such a tease.
Toby!
Relax, I could tell. You were enjoying this.
The nerve of him! He likes seeing me come undone. Though, he was right. Toby did have a nice body, and I could tell that he worked out. If only I could feel it up and see his reactions. Too bad, the lack of light became more obvious.
That's not a way out,
He said, finally pulling me from my thoughts.
We should continue and weigh our options.
Yes, of course, I said. But all I could do was think about the inevitable, what might happen when we get out, and what this might mean for us. A part of me wanted so much more, to tell him the truth and my feelings. If we made it out of this perilous journey, then I would confess everything, and hopefully, Toby would feel the same. A week later, we walked around the cave, exhausting all the options. It was only then that we realized the truth. The only way out was from the entrance. We walked around each night, the tensions growing, or what we thought was night. Our headlamps were getting low in battery, and we only had so many flashlights to work with. After so many wrong paths and dead ends, we finally found our way back to the main foyer, and then out near the entrance. We would soon be free. But once we reached that point, I would need to have another conversation with Toby. We took another breath to gather ourselves. As we did, I pressed my fingers together and bit my lip, wondering if I should say it right now.
What's on your mind, Michael?
Toby said, pulling me from my thoughts. Nothing. I wanted to ask you something.
Sure, what is it?
The tension grew. The cave felt like it was slowly coming down on me as I tried to utter these words. It's about what we shared and what will happen.
What do you mean?
My heart raced. I had to tell him now, or I might not have another chance. Taking a deep breath, I composed myself as I said the words that were at the forefront of my mind. I'm falling for you, Toby. I like you a lot. Toby didn't respond. Oh no. Was I too forward? I'm sorry if it was too much, and
So you feel the same way, then?
I looked in the direction of his voice, completely shocked. Yeah, I have. Ever since we shared that kiss. If we get out of here, I would like to try dating, if that's alright with you. Toby's hand rested in mine, and soon he pulled me forward until I was straddling his legs. His lips met mine in a passionate kiss. I moaned, slowly coming undone by the touch. As Toby pulled away, he touched my hair, resting his fingers on the curl.
I would love to try as well, to see where this could lead us. I never thought about dating my best friend, but now I'm beginning to wonder if maybe this is the answer.
Maybe so. We continued to kiss, forgetting about the world around us. He pulled for my shirt, ready to tear it off, but that's when we heard the rumble. The cave shook, and I jumped off Toby. Panic struck his face, and he looked about.
We need to get out! Wait, this way!
He gestured to a small bit of light, barely visible in the distance. I followed him, and together we rushed out of there. I heard the cave falling behind me, and I knew looking back was not the solution. We climbed and climbed until we reached the final leg. The light of civilization was right there. Toby scrambled up, getting to the entrance. He extended his hand, his eyes wide at the sight behind me.
Here! You have no time! Michael, grab my hand now!
I didn't need to be told twice. As I grabbed it, he hoisted me up. Just as I reached the grass, the final bits of rock disappeared. The cave was gone. Its entrance now impossible to get into. Catching our breaths, we laid out there, and I turned to him with a smile. We did it! We made it out! But for now, I think we need some rest.
Yes, I agree.
I fell asleep next to Toby with my hand in his. We're safe for now. When we woke up, we'd talk about what this meant, and the future of our friendship. The next day, we woke up the next morning to a light in our faces. As we roused, a woman named Robin checked on us. She's a part of the team responsible for ensuring people's safety. After the cave-in, as reported, she came out and found us. She let us go afterwards, knowing that we were professionals and had the right documentation. After she double-checked for injuries, she let us go. We headed to the car, but the tension lingered. There was still something we needed to discuss. "Toby," I began as he reached his car. He looked back at me, but before he could respond, I leaned in, capturing his lips in a kiss. He kissed me back, and his hands reached for my waist, pulling me there. I saw everything. There was no darkness, nor dim light. Instead, I saw the pink, plush lips and felt his muscular arms hold me closer. When I pulled away, we locked eyes. Toby reached up and touched my cheek, smirking slightly.
"You'd been waiting to do that, haven't you?"
"Yes, and you meant what you said in the cave, right? That you give me a chance?" He chuckled, pulling me close.
"I'll give you more than a chance, Michael. I want to see where this goes as well, and maybe it might become something more."
I smiled. "Good. I want that too. Now, let's get some real food and shower too." He chuckled again, leaning against my ear.
"Only if you join me in both."
His words made the hair on my arm stand on end. I kissed him again and pulled back. "You have yourself a deal." We took separate cars, but after I parked at Toby's place and we washed up together, we went out for food. News of our caving adventures spread like wildfire, but what mattered was what I learned from this. The feelings I had for Toby, the desire to experience the world together and to have a future. I knew this was where I wanted to be, and I was sure that, no matter what, we'd have each other. He may be my best friend, but he was also my lover. Maybe getting lost in the cave was just what we needed. After our caving adventures, Toby and I started dating. We got serious immediately, and we realized that our love for each other was real. About a year later, he married me, and I finally got to share forever with him. Dangerous situations can put you in scary places, and yet, I don't regret a single bit of it. We had each other, and that was ultimately what mattered. The end. Have you ever fallen for your best friend? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe to join our Rainbow Force.